Hey guys, look, sorry to break it to you, but I don't have the secret formula to make it always your class. I really wish I did though, because if I did, I would be a very rich man right now on some tropical island. But sadly, I'm not. The truth of the matter is, there is no secret recipe to doing well in classes. You honestly just have to put in the hard work. And if you do the hard work, I promise you, you will get the results you want. That segues me into telling you about this presentation that I do. So basically, this video is going to be about a presentation that I give new students at orientation. Look, just for a disclaimer, I am not a professional speaker. Don't go into this expecting some like David Goggins level of inspiration. So with that being said, don't judge me that hard. I'm trying my best. At every orientation, I give a presentation to students to kind of help them with transitioning from high school to college. I get really good feedback on this presentation, so I thought it would be great to share it with as many people as possible. So without further ado, here's my presentation, and I hope it helps you in some type of way. All right, so like she said, I'm Voltaire. I'm going into my junior year, and I'm a biology major. So I always like to start by saying like why I wanted to do the presentation. So I had an opportunity to talk to like an academic seminar class, kind of like in the middle, more towards the middle of the semester. And a lot of them had been struggling with their different classes like A&P, the pathos, usually like the first classes students run into and have problems with. And I was able to give them a lot of good tips, but it was kind of towards the middle of the semester. So a lot of damage kind of had already been done to their grades. And I said, well, I think I should probably be able to give them some tips before school starts. So yeah, so that's what brought me to doing it. And just a little bit about vocation, because I always like to talk about this. Has anybody like worked at a fast food or a low-level job? Yeah? Where'd you work at?
I worked at this restaurant where I live.
Where you live?
Zachary.
Oh, you from Zachary? I'm from Zachary.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Were you like really passionate about making the food? Like whenever you fry stuff, were you just like super passionate about it?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it because it was kind of like a break from the front.
Okay, did not expect that. You're the first person that said. But my point is, most of the time when you're working these fast food jobs, you realize it's like not your passion. But whenever I was able to get into the hospital, I really realized how much of a passion I had for it. You know, I took pride in just doing the littlest things, like just being a part of somebody's care. And the reason I wanted to tell y'all that is because it's so important to really find what you're passionate about. And it's something I didn't really take that seriously whenever I came here. I listened to the same presentation y'all did, wrote the vocation card, and just was like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, who cares about that? But it's really, really important. And I can tell you, just to elaborate a little bit more on people not deserving to be in healthcare, I go to my job and there are people who complain every second of the day. They use every breath, and they're just like, they're what's the word I'm trying to use? They're miserable at work, and you just don't want to be there. So again, try and find what you really like to do, and that might not be medicine when you go through it, but just make sure you find what you like to do. So to start a little bit, this is not high school. And the reason I put that in here, because a lot of new students, they come into college and they use these old habits that they've developed in high school and they don't work. Newsflash, college is a lot harder than high school. You're gonna have classes that take a lot more dedication than what you've ever been used to. I like to use myself as an example. I graduated with honors. I did very little to do that, to be completely honest. It was pretty easy for me, and when I got to college, it was a culture shock for me because I had to go home every day, study every day, and I still wasn't getting the grades I wanted at first. But through developing my study habits, through developing my connections, I was able to be more successful. I also want to tell you that your college teachers are not going to be like your high school teachers. It's really, some of them are going to want you to succeed, obviously, but it's really sink or swim in college. There's only so much they can do to help you. And to really hone in on that point, I know one person who had a 69.4 and the teacher did not pass him. I know a lot of the times in high school, things like that, you know, they're like, oh, it's just a point. But I just like to talk about that because it just shows how much you have to earn every point that you get. So take everything seriously. So these are like the biggest two things I think lead to students being successful as I've seen, is becoming involved and making friends and connections. And I think becoming involved makes people so successful a lot of the time because it leads to making friends and connections. I actually recently got to take 2 classes at BRCC over the summer and last semester. And I like to say that because they always connect with their students. The students always connect with each other. They're always making group chats. At the beginning of the class, it's like a given thing that they're going to do. And that's something we really don't do and something that really lacks. So I want to encourage all the students, try and meet each other. Get each other's numbers, get each other's socials. Group me if you don't want to have anybody call you. But meet each other and use each other as a resource. I promise you, it will help you. So don't be introverted. It's easy to be introverted, especially at the type of college we're at. Being a community school, like Dr. Witter said, it's easy to get in your car, go to class, and go home. But really try and make friends and really try and use each other as a resource and your teachers as well. Okay, I get a lot of questions on working while in college. Like I told y'all, I worked in the hospital when I was a freshman, and now I have 3 jobs actually. So I have a lot of experience in the hospital, so a lot of people ask me about that. But I try to kind of break it down into like categories that you should ask yourself before working in high school. So the first category I have is, how much would this benefit me? A lot of people immediately think I mean financially when I say that, but that's not always the case. I was able to really find my vocation through working, and just having that experience is priceless. I would have done it for free, to be honest. So really think about not just how much I get paid, what I could buy with my paycheck. Think about how will this experience benefit me and how will it contribute to my happiness long term. And think about your careers like that too. Don't go into nursing for the money, because I promise you, you will be miserable. What will I have to sacrifice? So my personal thing that I like to do is playing a game. I like to play video games in my spare time. Now you might like to hang out, read, watch TV, whatever you like to do. But if you work while in college and taking these heavy classes, it might not be a lot of time to do that. I like to say that like my last semester, I didn't play my game the entire semester. And that's like 4 months of my time. Probably the longest I ever been without playing it, to be honest. But I had to sacrifice that, and it was kind of hard, to be honest. I didn't have a lot of time to have fun. And that brings me to, what will my mental health be? Working is hard. Working a lot of hours is hard while being in school. So I would not advise you to put yourself in that situation if you don't have to. My last semester I took 8 classes and I worked 30 to 40 hours a week. I also had eczema, so I was like really stressed out because I was putting the utmost effort to get the grades that I wanted. I was so stressed out, in fact, that my eczema completely flared up, my skin looked terrible, and half of my eyebrow fell off. And I'm not just playing, like literally half of my eyebrow fell off. So before you work, just look yourself in the mirror, look at your eyebrows, and think about how much you like them. The last thing is, how much do I like to sleep? I didn't get definitely the recommended amount of sleep while I was working in college. It was a lot of days where I had to stay up till 1 in the morning and wake up at 5 or 6, because that's just what it took to get where I wanted to be. Now, if that's something you have to do, then so be it. But if you don't, again, if you do not have to put yourself in this situation, don't put yourself in that situation. All right, time management. The name of college is obviously time management, but it has to be a strategy to doing time management. So what I mean by that is, you have to make a calendar. You have to realize how long it's going to take you to do certain things. And to do that, most of the time you have to avoid procrastination. Now I want to talk about that a little bit, because a lot of people think when I say avoid procrastination, that means you do things immediately, and that's not always the case. If you get an assignment and it's better for you to do it on Wednesday, then that might just be what it is. But you have to actually execute the plan how you said you were going to do it. Don't get to Wednesday and be like, oh, I'll do it Friday. You know, we really want to execute the plan how we want to, but execute it in the smartest way, if that makes sense. Discipline, it takes discipline to be this dedicated and do things like you said you were, obviously. So I would just advise you to practice. It takes practice to be disciplined. It's actually a study that says if you do things that you don't want to do over and over again, it gets easier over time. So you just have to put one foot in front of the other and start doing it. Okay, studying chart. So that's basically a chart that I made to like detail if you're procrastinate versus if you're disciplined, what it'll lead to. Now you have to ignore the lines because the lines are supposed to go straight down and I didn't know how to change it, so I just left it like that. But again, procrastination usually leads to a great deal of work with little to no retention. So that's usually the days where we are spending 16 hours a day studying and we get to the test and don't remember one thing we looked at. Versus having a constant flow of work, you're retaining things over time and you're happier and you have a better performance. I really want to say that you're happier because you have more time to do things that you like. If you consistently work and don't spend all day, every day trying to study, you will have more time to hang out with your friends, read whatever you like to do, and you'll have a better performance. So really think about that the next time you say, I'll just do it tomorrow. So that's kind of like a chart. Again, we have a line that I don't know where it came from. But basically this chart is ideally how you would want your workflow to look. You will want to consistently do things over time. So maybe an hour this day, an hour this day, an hour this day. Versus I'm going to not study. The test is tomorrow. Don't want studying schedule to look like this. Deep work versus shallow work. So there's actually a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. I really recommend it. But it's basically about maximizing your time studying. Well, not necessarily studying, but maximizing your time doing whatever you're doing. But in this case, we're going to say studying. So whenever you're studying, it's real easy to look at the paper and then look at Instagram. I look at the paper and look at TV, whatever's going on. We really want to limit all distractions if we can. And getting to the point where you could really be this focused and locked in, again, takes practice. You got to work on it over time. But you'll get better and better if you keep putting yourself in this environment. Things to avoid when studying. Listening to music containing words or distracting beats. So obviously, you don't want to listen to whatever Katy Perry just dropped because you're going to remember everything the song said and not whatever you were studying. Crowded and noisy environment. So a lot of people like coffee shops, but when you really get into their maybe third hour of studying, anything could distract you. Even just that guy walking by in a blue shirt. Working with an unproductive study group. Does anybody like study groups? Working with study groups, studying with people? Nobody? Good Lord. But if you like working with a study group, the only thing I would tell you is just make sure it's productive and make sure you're not with a group of people who say that we're going to collectively fail together. You want to really be with people who are uplifting you in some way. So try and find somebody who understands something better than you, understands a topic. It doesn't have to be overall, but maybe just understands a certain topic better than you. Places with an abundance of temptation. So I really call these places like your room, places where you would do anything else. You have stuff that you would rather be doing to study. If that makes sense. So if you want to go turn on the TV, do whatever. Try to stay out of these places. Really try and go to like maybe a library. Even here, this is a great place because there's not a lot of things going on. Just try and really put in the effort to be in a spot where you could focus to the maximum. So these are a couple of apps that I like. Usually everybody is familiar with Quizlet. That's usually like flashcards, and they've even expanded now to have like different games and stuff you could use to remember things. Also a good app for like flashcard type things is Anki. They focus on like spaced repetition, so they show you like cards that you were worse at more often and show you the cards that you were good at less often. It really helps like with me because I always like to like look at the entire stack every single day, which is pretty much unnecessary. Notability and good notes. If anybody like has like an iPad or some like electronic device that they can write on, those apps are really good. Notability even has an option to record your professor, and it'll show you what you were writing while they were talking. It also prints out the transcript for you, which is pretty good. Chegg, I really like Chegg because Chegg shows you like expert explain answers on how to solve things. I took trig last semester, and I'm telling you, I only got through it because of Chegg. So I swear by Chegg. YouTube, you can find pretty much any topic that's ever been discussed on YouTube, to be honest. But the only thing I'll say about YouTube is it's very easy to get distracted on YouTube. You know, that recommended tab is showing us a whole bunch of stuff that's not related to whatever we're looking at. So just try and be focused if you're on YouTube. Another good one for videos would be Khan Academy. They have a lot of different lectures on different things too. So this is like a little quote that I like. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. And I like this quote because I feel like everybody consumes information differently. Everybody approaches a topic at a different level of understanding, but everybody has the ability to fly eventually. So just don't ever get discouraged if you don't understand something initially. Just know that you could get to the point where you could fly. Well, that concludes my presentation. I hope that was of some help to y'all. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
You made it through the whole presentation. You're a real one. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Help your boy out with the algorithm. And thank you. See you next time.